The minority in parliament is accusing government of underpaying cocoa farmers and continuing a policy which undermines the cocoa industry in Ghana. A statement issued by the minority says cocoa is fetching more than $3,000 per metric ton on the international market, and on top of that, Ghana's cocoa attracts a price premium of between 15 to 20% because of its high quality, a trend which the minority says must make government pay farmers a lot more than the 420 per 46 kg bag announced on Friday. Are these solid arguments to ask for more? Can the Cocoa Board pay, and can it sustain this trend? This is today's big story. On Friday, 2nd October, government announced a 21.7% increase in the producer price of cocoa. This was against the backdrop that bad weather could lead to about 20% drop in harvest compared to last season's already disappointing yield. But now the minority in parliament says farmers deserve more than the 420 cedis per 46 kilogram bag that government has offered to cocoa farmers. Let's get some clarity on what exactly the minority wants. Dr. Owusu Efriakoto is ranking member, Food and Agricultural Committee of Parliament. He's joining us now. Doc, good evening.
You're listening.
Now, I spoke to you on Friday, and you raised a key concern that government could pay farmers about 100 cedis more than the 420 they're offering. Now, this formal statement you're issuing actually means that this is the position of the minority. But can government sustain this? I mean, 420 to how many farmers? And can we afford a top-up in addition to the 5 Ghana cedis that government pays as bonuses for each bag?
You know, I think you have to start from the beginning to let your listeners understand what is going on. We just signed a $1.8 billion loan in Paris. And the $1.8 billion US loan for cocoa purchase is coming to the central bank later this week or next week. It's going to be exchanged for 4 Ghana cedis or thereabouts per dollar. So we are talking about a total inflow of 7.5 billion cedis. The question you should be asking is, how much of this money is going to the farmer? I think that would be more relevant in the context of the discussion we're having. We are saying that the government has been underpaying farmers for the last 6-7 years, and this is why production is coming down. This year, as you know, we hardly made 700,000 metric tons of cocoa, which is one of the lowest in the last 10-11 years. And for comparative purposes, we farm the same area under cocoa as Cote d'Ivoire, 1.7 million hectares. You ask me how much Cote d'Ivoire harvest compared to what we have done in Ghana. The recent crop which just ended in 2014-2015, Ivory Coast harvested nearly 1.7 million metric tons. Ghana could hardly do 700. And that is what you should be asking. Because what is happening is that we are having to import, and listen to that, import cocoa into this country from Cote d'Ivoire in order to feed our cocoa processing factories. Isn't that shocking? Isn't that something? That should tell you something. And that's what we are talking about. To be able to diagnose why is it that this country is going down in production. We are saying that we are not paying farmers enough.
But Doc,
and our whole system of distributing chemicals to farmers is totally wrong. Farmers are not getting the tools they need to fight the plant diseases which will enable their yields to go up. A lot of farmers, those who used to harvest 20 bags of cocoa a year in a season, can hardly do 8 bags. And it's very common. You go to all the places, in Sergi, in Mahafo, in Amansia, all over the cocoa areas, and the farmers are complaining because they are not having the right inputs. So these are the things that we are talking about. And we are saying that we should not continue to underpay cocoa farmers. If you look at the world price of cocoa now, and you look at the exchange rate and so on, you come to the conclusion that at least the government can afford to pay farmers 550 Ghana cedis per bag, and not the 340, the 420 that they fixed. So they have to look at it again if they are to stop the rot.
Right.
And the decline which is in the industry.
Right.
That is what we are talking about.
Doc, you've raised two key issues. I need us to explore it further. I mean, you raised the issue of Côte d'Ivoire and their production capacity, and then Ghana and the fact that harvest is dropping because of key challenges. You're saying that cocoa farmers are producing much less. So I'm saying that if they're producing much less, how then do the minority expect the government will raise extra funds through the syndicated loan? Of course, you've mentioned that, to pay more, low production and pay more, that will put us at a disadvantage.
No, but that's the key. I mean, if you don't pay the producer enough, how do you expect him to produce more? It's very simple, common sense to me. People are in the bush there sweating and breaking their backs to produce cocoa. You confiscate this cocoa and sell it abroad, and you don't give them the appropriate return. So how do you expect them to continue producing? I rather don't understand your proposition.
Now, are farmers all in agreement with this position? Because there are some farmers we have spoken to who are extremely happy with the 21.7% increase in the producer price.
They'll be happy with the combos which fall to them. Because for 3 good years, for instance, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, the government did not increase the price of cocoa by one peso. 3 years. In the meantime, world prices were going up, inflation was raging, the city was devaluing, their standard of living were collapsing in the villages. Now you go to the villages, the cocoa farmers are pathetic. I mean, the poverty is grinding. They're complaining. So they need to be paid for their sweat. That's what we are saying. It's as simple as that. You cannot deny people the right to their own foods. Otherwise, ultimately, you are denying the country, and this is what is happening. From 1 million metric tons 5 years ago, 2010, 2011, we are now 7. If we carry on like this, we go to 5. If we carry on like that, we go to 4. And that is like night and day. You know, this is basic economics. You cannot keep on underpaying farmers and expect them to produce a miracle. So
you feel that government's continuous underpayment of farmers, I beg your pardon, is also undermining the cocoa industry? Is that not too harsh?
It is one of the major reasons why cocoa production is going down, my friend. You have to accept nobody can deny the fact that cocoa production is going down in this country for the last 5-6 years. From the peak of 1 million, we are talking about a production of 700,000. And it's not the weather, because Ivory Coast is the same weather and geography and environment like us. They are doing very well. They are producing more than twice what we are producing for the same piece of land. You understand? So, I mean, somebody should be doing something.
But they're producing twice more, but Ghana is paying more. I mean, the recent figures suggest that even after the 18% increase in Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana's recent increase means that we're paying more.
You see, that is where the trick is. The CFA is linked to the almighty euro. Ghana cedi is linked to nothing. So it's
linked to the dollar.
February, you see the devaluation of the depreciation of the cedi, and then the whole thing will turn around. And we always do that at the beginning of the season. The last 3 seasons, that's what we've done. Oh, we are paying them more. And in the meantime, as the year goes by, the cedi is going down from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6.
So, Doc, you think that this is just some window dressing, that eventually, I mean, the price Ghana is paying for the cocoa won't be any significant to that of Côte d'Ivoire?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So quickly, now you've raised the concerns. I need to ask you what suggestions you have that we can employ as a country to, one, improve production and also be able to pay more? Because obviously, I mean, the dynamics work in such a way that if you're not producing more, you cannot afford to pay more. So what can Ghana do in order to improve production? I do know that the Cocoa Board has announced that it is supplying hybrid seedlings, which are pest resistant and all of that, to farmers. Is that a good first step?
In the right direction, but that in itself is fraught with problems. Because why is it that 40% of Ghana's cocoa stock of cocoa trees is overage? It's very simple. It's because is a result of the underpayment to farmers for all this time. They cannot afford to renew their cocoa stock. If they were getting enough, I mean, they know what is good for them. They've been in the business all their lives, most of them. They know that if you replant with new variety, high yielding and so on, you get more. But they cannot afford to cut their trees and wait, fold their arms and wait for 3-4 years for the yield to come. So that is the reason why we have such a large chunk of stock which is old, overage and under yielding. Giving them free seedlings is just one. You have to scrap this whole business about free inputs. Because the free input is actually leading to Ghana supplying West Africa and not its own farm with this for sale chemical inputs. The fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, which we are finding in Niger, Cameroon, in Western Nigeria, Togo, and all those things, should be used by farmers not getting it. Because of this whole black market, domestic black market, where you go to KJT and they are selling not for sale products, and then you go to Burkina Faso and Niger and they are selling not for sale Ghana products.
Right, Dr. Owusu Efiri-Akoto, we're grateful for your time on today's big story. Dr. Owusu Efiri-Akoto is a ranking member of the Agricultural Committee of Parliament. Joseph Opoku-Gapo is here. Joseph, I know we started this conversation on Friday, and then the dynamics that presented itself before us on Friday was that minority feels that government could pay more. I mean, we are coming back to the same argument. Now, the new angle that Dr. Opoku Owusu Efiri is bringing is that no matter how Cote d'Ivoire is paying more for the cocoa seedlings, the cocoa beans, it's just a matter of window dressing, and that at the end of the day, because Ghana's currency is not really tied to any productive manufacturing industry or anything, the currency is not strong, and it's not supported by the euro, for example, which Cote d'Ivoire has supported its currency. So what is at play here?
You see, on the ground itself, for the ordinary farmer, it's about who is giving him the better money. It's not about the value of the money. It's not about, you know, whether it's CFA, whether it's CD, or it's about who is giving. At all. That's the impression that you get. It's not about even the purchasing power. If what he gets from Cote d'Ivoire, he gets the impression that that amount will be higher than what he gets from Ghana. Of course, maybe he may want to take his cocoa there, but you know, what the minority and even the NPP as a whole is pointing to about a very gloomy future for the cocoa industry. Obviously, the issue of prices would come in, but it goes beyond that. It obviously wouldn't lie only in the pricing of the cocoa. There's a larger concern. Yes, there's a larger concern about a lot of those who are engaged in cocoa production being the aged. And so the situation is that a lot of the young people who are supposed to take over from their fathers when they are no longer there are actually not involved in the sector. In fact, just like the agricultural sector generally, it's estimated that something more than 50 to 60% of those engaged are actually above the age of 50 years. And that looks obviously very bad, because then those who may be taking over, they will not be resident.
I mean, my mother is a cocoa farmer, has about 20 acres of cocoa in the bush, and I'm not very keen on going to farm on that cocoa farm, because it doesn't present viable alternatives for me in terms of career. I don't know.
Exactly.
Is that what it is? Is that how young people feel?
That's actually the situation. A lot of the young people are not exactly involved in the industry, and the effect is that a recent research, for example, that was done by the Cadbury PLC, which was actually, they commissioned it, was done by the University of Sussex and the University of Ghana. They found out that when you, for example, pick the amount of produce that come out from each acre of farm here in Ghana and compare it to how much comes out of a farm in Indonesia, the Ghanaian farmers were doing less than 10% of what the ordinary farmer in Indonesia is getting on the farm. And all of that comes into play. It's about inputs, it's about skill, it's about the ability of whoever is working on the farm to introduce new technology, new skills, his ability to adapt to all of these new interventions, the hybrid seed and all of that. And you would agree that if you have an educated young person like yourself engaged in a business of cocoa farming, doing all of that to ensure that the yield is better, you know, you would obviously do that compared to your grandmother, for example, that you make reference to. So it's more like a holistic thing. If it's about increasing cocoa production, it's not just a one-day thing. It won't just be about increasing price. What we've seen, for example, are companies, for example, in the cocoa industry, rolling out policies and projects that are running over 10-15-year period in order to encourage more young people to get involved in cocoa production and also to help sustain the future of the industry. Right. It's not a one-off thing.
There's nothing of that sort happening in Ghana in terms of policy to encourage young people and perhaps attract skilled persons into the cocoa.
We've seen the private sector do a lot of that. There are, for example, projects by Mondelez, which is a confectionery manufacturing company in the US. Previously, there used to be Kraft Food. Before that, there used to be Cadbury. They, for example, have rolled out such a policy. They call it the Cocoa Life program. So they engaged in a holistic project. It's not just about educating the farmers and giving them input, but it's a project that aims at developing the cocoa industry generally.
Right.
So they're providing them with solar lanterns, they're providing them with educational infrastructure. The idea is to create thriving cocoa communities, they call it. And Cargill is also rolling out a similar project. So what you see are pockets of projects being rolled out by private companies which are interested in the cocoa sector.
You would say a lot more needs to be
obviously done. A lot more needs to be done.
Joseph, we're grateful for your time. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is with our agricultural desk here at Joy News. We've been trying to reach the public relations officer of the Ghana Cocoa Board to throw some light on some of the problems or some of the issues that have been raised by the minority, but he's unable to join us, and the farmers themselves don't want to speak. They say we should talk to the policymakers. So we'll move away from cocoa now. Empowering teachers, building sustainable societies. That is the theme for this year's World Teachers Day, which falls on October 5th each year. Now, today the United Nations says it recognizes that teachers are not only a means to implementing education goals, but are key to sustainability and national capacity in achieving learning and creating societies based on knowledge. But the key question here is, are teachers and educators well empowered, motivated, and supported to deliver the best creation of knowledge? Here in Ghana, we're getting on the telephone lines to speak to Dr. Owusu Mensah and Captain Retired Budu Kumsin, who is an education advocate. They're joining us on the line. But first, let's hear from Dr. Owusu Mensah, who is a lecturer of the University of Ghana. Good evening, Doc, and thanks for joining us. Hello. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us. Right, we don't have Dr. Owusu Mensah, and we'll be getting them on the telephone lines. But we'll take a short break here, and when we return, we'll discuss the... Right, I'm told that Dr. Owusu Mensah is back on the line now. Good evening, Doc.
Good evening.
So today is World Education Day, and one of the key concerns that the United Nations has is that teachers are not well empowered, not well motivated enough in an environment that can help them impact more knowledge on the generation. Do you feel that way as an education provider yourself?
Thank you very much. And let me take the opportunity to greet all your listeners. Of course, as Randy said, teachers are not, and education service providers are not empowered enough. We have to always fight, struggle to get our needs met. We, of course, know that not every state in the world can provide all the needs of all education providers, either nursery level or primary level or the university level. But the level that the state is supposed to commit itself to, they are not able to do it. And I don't think that it's not a question of ability or inability to do it, but the willingness to do it is a question that all
so when you say willingness, you're talking about the willingness of policy makers or those who are responsible for ensuring that teachers' conditions are improved, you think that they are not willing to do anything about your plight?
Sure, I think that they are not willing to do it, and they are mostly interested in providing their emphasis in their infrastructure. But the infrastructure in terms of building alone is not enough. If you want the first part that we need to deliver is not what is provided at all times. It's not enough to build enough classroom lecture halls. But what about the people providing the service? Do they have what it takes to deliver? And that is where my question is. They are not willing to do it.
They are not willing. So what do you need in order to deliver? I know that there are recent research works I do not want to quote, but their research has been conducted into teachers' delivery in Ghana. And it does appear that the teachers are not giving off their best. So as teachers are not giving off their best, is it fair to demand that your conditions are improved?
But for some of us, when we talk about improvement in conditions, salary is just one of the several issues that we are looking out for. Salary is not the main thing that we're talking about conditions being improved. Let's look at it holistically, not only in the university, which I am a service provider there, but also in the secondary school, the primary, and the lower level. We have what it takes to give out the services that we need. This is a question that I'm raising all the time. Salary should not be part of the things that we are
You're asking for.
Here. Because salary is for my personal benefit. But do I have all the books that I need to speak with? Do I have the media resources? And this is where I say that they are not willing to provide. They are happy to provide us the classroom. They are happy to provide us with all things that we call our. So what it takes to deliver, this is where we have the question.
But what about training? I mean, enhancing your own skills and knowledge base, which, of course, when it comes to imparting on the people you teach, that's very relevant. How has it been over the years? I mean, how has the Education Service or the Ministry of Education been in terms of delivering you training to ensure that your skills are enhanced for your work?
I must say that when it comes to that area, I would say that the successive government over the years have done very well in that area. And I think that they need to be parted in that area, because if you look at the teachers at the lower level, either the primary, the secondary, and up to the university level, a lot of efforts are being put in by the Ministry of Education through the distance program, through the sandwich program, to ensure that people are empowered to get first degree, to get diploma, to get second degree, to enhance themselves. So on that basis, I think that the government is doing very well. But progress from there into the university, also a lot of opportunities are there, a lot of scholarships are provided for people who don't have their PhD. And even those of us who have our PhD by the grace of God, a lot of opportunities are provided. People who want to do postdocs, people who want to go for short-term training, these opportunities are available. For that area, I'll have to pass the government.
I must admit that you're the first teacher I've spoken to who has been that kind with words and perhaps commending successive governments for what it put into the training and upgrade of the skills of the teachers. But I mean, we are now at a point that despite all the efforts being put in place by educational authorities and governments, teachers continue to go on strike because some aspects of their conditions of service are not met. I mean, recently, NAGRAT has been threatening to go on strike because some aspects of the conditions they have been demanding have been on the negotiating table for years, 2 years or 3 years or so. So what's going wrong, really?
Exactly. We are just going back to the same issue that we raised again. Of course, all of us also know that the state resource is not enough. See, the problem that we have at the education and that of the health sector is the numbers. Because the numbers are so huge. Any little amount that you, for instance, let the government say we are giving teachers across the country one Ghana, the Minister of Finance will tell you that this runs into millions and we don't have the money. Because of the numbers, in view of that, our circumstances to be improved is always a very peculiar task for the government at any point in time. So they will say, "Oh, we don't have we don't have the quantum to provide that increment or that new condition of service or better condition of service that you are looking for. And that has been our problem because of the numbers.
Right.
You know very well the percentage of the government budget that goes to education and the percentage of that budget that also goes to payment of salary, wages, and salary, or what you call emolument. And that is huge amount of money.
Right. Dr. Osei Mensah, we're grateful. But before we let you go, I need to ask you, what do you think the way forward should be? I mean, this year, today is World Teachers Day, and the United Nations is keen about improving, empowering teachers. What strategies do you think that government, educational authorities and government should be putting in place to ensure that this happens?
Thank you very much. For me, to ask me, my little suggestion would be that the government and of course the state should consider that without empowering the people, without giving the necessary resources to the teachers to deliver, providing the hardware, quote unquote, for education delivery will take us nowhere. If we want to get the best out of the infrastructure that we put up across the country, then we must also put in the software, quote unquote, so that the teachers can give out their best. It's good to offer training for them. It's good to provide a classroom for them, as the government are doing over the years. But what it takes to teach must be provided, and that is where we can harness the resources that we have. Because whether we like it or not, the human resource is the best resource we have in this country, and we must work towards to achieve the best out of it.
Right, thanks very much, Dr. Osei Mensah. I'm afraid we were unable to get Captain Retired Budu Kumsin, who is an education advocate, on the line. But that's where we end today's Big Story. My name is Stephen Enti, and thanks for staying with us. Enjoy the rest of our program.